Hi, I'm Chef Gail Sokol and welcome to my kitchen. Today we're making a cherry frangipane tart. And I have a couple of videos that use this sweetened almond cream or paste as it's known, called frangipane. It's super easy to make and you line pie crusts with it. You can top it with fruit. You can bake it by itself and then top it with fruit. It is spectacular. It makes desserts elevated to several levels high. Now, you can use either recipe for frangipane that I have made on those videos. I'm going to be using the one using sliced almonds. My other one uses almond paste. So it's up to you which one you use. So the first thing we're going to do in order to make our crust for our 10-inch false bottom round tart pan is we're going to make our crust in our food processor. So I have 1 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour and 1/4 teaspoon of salt already in here, and I pulsed it a few times so it got a little bit well blended. I'm adding 1/2 cup plus 2 tablespoons of confectioner's sugar. That just keeps the sweetness down because the cherries on the top and the frangipane add a lot of sweetness. You don't need that much. And then I'm actually going to make like a double dose of almonds in this because cherries and almonds, such a perfect combo. So I'm actually going to add 1/4 cup plus a tablespoon of blanched almonds. Those are the sliced blanched almonds. They come whole or sliced that have no skin on them. All right, it's been removed. I toasted them in the oven. I let them cool and I'm putting them right in here. We're going to give this a whirl around the food processor. And you know my trick, I always put my kitchen towel on top so it doesn't come flying out. And we're just gonna pulverize it. Literally pulverize it because you want those almond pieces to really get broken down. So that might take, a couple minutes. It's not gonna take that long. Not even a minute, actually, not even a minute. So once I do that, I have preheated my oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And once I see that everything is powdery and beautiful, and it is. And remember, what helps that is the sugar and the flour sort of helps go all around those sliced almonds. Oh, I got a whiff of delicious almond. Yum, yum, yum. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 8½ tablespoons of unsalted cold cubed butter. And then I'm going to give this another pulsing, not a whirl, but more like a pulsing until all the butter pieces come together and this forms a dough. I'm going to pour it into a bowl, gather it together, and then I'm going to push it into my greased, and I did spray it with nonstick cooking spray, even though there's enough butter in here for anybody. It's very powdery, your crust. All right. And I'm just going to gather it together. And you can see you can sort of gather it into clumps. And that's what's going to give it such tenderness. It's going to be incredible. So I'm just going to get it together. And this crust is not a typical crust. It's got a lot of almond in it. It's got a lot of fat in it with the butter. So it's going to be very sort of crumbly. So this is almost like a cake. It's not going to be a true like pie, like you would think of a tart or a pie. So that's why I'm putting this in like this. And I'm going to press it out. And you can even use a measuring cup if you want, or just your hands. Press up the sides, and it should look just like this. Don't add any liquid to it because it's almost going to turn into a cake. And we're going to have cherries, and we're going to have frangipane in here. And we're going to put this on a sheet pan, and we're going to bake it at 350, but we're going to put parchment and pie weights in it. So I like to use uncooked beans that have never been cooked. All right, dried beans, don't use the canned. That would not be good, too much liquid. And we're going to just blind bake this until everything sets. All right, it's very, like I said, it's very crumbly. Don't worry about it. Just push it up the sides. Okay, and you want a good side to it. And the Frangipane will bring everything together. You'll see. Frangipane is amazing if you've never had it. It's so almondy. It's traditionally like a sweetened almond cream or paste. Like I said, it's almost like a pastry cream, but it must be baked. You cannot eat it raw. Must be baked. So don't make the mistake of taking a big mouthful because it does use raw egg. And we don't want anybody eating raw egg. Okay, so I'm pushing this down, and it does pack nicely. So pretend you're at the beach and just sort of pack it. And it will take a minute or two. Spend the time to make sure that you go up the sides. All right, and if you have too much on one area, sort of push down and make it go all over. Okay, so my oven is preheated to 350. And I'm going to put this on my sheet pan that I have lined with aluminum foil. Okay. I'm going to take some parchment paper. I'm going to push it down on there. And then I'm going to take my pie weights or my beans. If you have pie weights, you can use them as well. And I'm just going to pour it in. And I want these beans to come really up the sides because we're preventing the crust from shrinking. All right. And it's going to go in the oven for about 20 to 25 minutes at 350. So I just took my crust out of the oven and allowed it to cool a little bit. It was baking at 350 for 20 to 25 minutes, just till it got set. Now I'm going to take Frangipane, which I made. Remember, I have those two videos. You can choose whichever Frangipane you want. This is the one with the sliced almonds. Really nice. And I believe this has a little bit of amaretto or almond flavored liqueur. So you can pick and choose whichever one you want. And I am going, if it gets stiff in the fridge, by the way, just pop it in the microwave for like 10 seconds, your Frangipane, if you've made it a few days before, because it does keep for a while in the fridge. So I'm going to put about a half a cup over my tart. Now I have thawed and draining cherries. I got dark sweet cherries from the freezer section of the grocery store. And what I've done is thawed them, and these are about 3 3/4 cups. So I'm going to spread this out. This is half a cup of my Frangipane, just to give it a base. It's going to be like a macaroon cherry, beautiful tart. Almost cakey tart, but not quite cakey. Just scrumptious. Who needs a name for it, right? So we're just going to spread this out with an offset spatula. Make sure your crust is not too warm. All right. Now we are going to use the rest of this, so don't take it anywhere. And we're going to take our cherries and we're going to actually sprinkle them. We'll do sprinkled cherries. Now you sort of plop them around evenly. Plopping is not a nice word, so we'll just sort of place them. That's better, right? So we'll place them nicely around. Make sure they're drained, make sure they're thawed, because frozen cherries will actually exude a lot of liquid, as you can see in my bowl. So I just put about 3 3/4 cups in my 10-inch tart pan. Now, I'm not going to be able to spread the rest of the Frangipane on top because of the cherries, because they're in the way. But I can actually dollop some of this Frangipane on top, and you want to use the rest of it up. Again, this is usually between 1 1/2 and 2 cups, your Frangipane. Both recipes make about the same. And it's pretty generous too, but you will use the whole thing. In this particular one or the other, you will use the whole recipe. So no leftovers. Remember, Frangipane must be baked, and I always repeat that because it's very important that you don't eat it raw. So the cherries are going to be in the middle. It's going to be this incredible surprise. But they're not going to be hidden either. You're going to see them, which is nice. So I'm just going to try to spread them a little bit. Now my oven has been maintained at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And I'm going to put this back in the oven for about 55 minutes. Yeah, 5 minutes. You'll see the frangipane puff up because anything with egg is going to puff a little bit. Eggs hold air. And you're going to see your cherries sort of bake in. It's going to get all like as one. And it will make this beautiful, beautiful tart. And then you don't want to cut it until it's cool. And then I like to dust it with confectioner's sugar. Maybe a little ice cream, whipped cream. So you can see I was able to spread a little bit of the frangipane very gently over those cherries. Get those cherries in there. They don't have to be covered. Don't worry if your cherries are not covered. All right, it is okay. You'll have uncovered cherries. Into the oven, 55 minutes at 350. So my cherry frangipane tart came out of the oven after 55 minutes. As you can see, it got nice and golden brown. And look at all the cherries. You can actually see them popping through. And all of this is the frangipane. And it's got that macaroony, yummy, brown, sort of caramelized taste on the top, which you will soon know. And I'm going to dust it with a little powdered sugar because I really like the way that looks. And then we're going to take a slice. So this is a tart, but it's not the type of tart you would expect. It's not tartish, if that's a word, but it's not tartish. It's just so good, so good. I hope you make this frangipane. Either recipe, and I hope you make this tart. So let me move this over. Let's give it a shot. Let's give it a shot. Oh, okay, hold on. I'm going to cut a nice big slice just for you. This would be great with vanilla ice cream, some whipped cream by itself. One more little cut. You ready? Are you ready? Voila. One side, the other side. I love to admire them. And then I'm going to turn this around for you. Look at all those cherries poking out all around there going, pick me, pick me. This is an extraordinary dessert, this cherry frangipane tart. Make it. You're going to be a believer in frangipane. You're going to be a believer in this tart. I hope you become a subscriber and make this. I want to hear from you if you've made it because you're going to love it. Till next time.